Good morning. I'm so pleased that you could join us. I'm Janice Mathis, and I'm privileged to be the Executive Director of the National Council of Negro Women. We will get started in just a few minutes. We want to give everyone who signed up for the webinar enough time to join us, and they'll do that in just a few minutes. I also want to thank Clarification and Mediation for providing technical support for this webinar. Before we get into the subject matter of today's presentation, William McFarland from Clarification and Mediation in just a few minutes will give us an overview of the technical aspects of the program to make sure you fully enjoy it. Again, welcome, and we'll be starting in just about 3 minutes. William, can you give us some of the technical details that we need for today's webinar?
Absolutely, Janice. Thank you very much, and good afternoon. My name is William McFarland. I work with Clarification and Mediation, and we are going to be the technical consultants for this afternoon's webinar. I just want to take a couple of seconds to go through some of the basics of the GoToWebinar platform. We're going to focus on the control panel, because the control panel is where all the magic that you need resides so that you can enjoy this afternoon's webinar. You'll notice that the control panel has to the left what's called a grab tab. That grab tab is where you can minimize or maximize or open or close the control panel. You may want to close the control panel if it blocks your view of the presentation, although I believe when the presentation starts, by default, you will just see the grab tab. But if you need anything in the control panel, go ahead and open it up using the orange arrow at the very top. You can go ahead and play with that if you want to. You can't hurt anything. The meeting organizer must unmute your phone or mic before you can be heard. If we are doing questions and answers and I ask you to unmute yourself, click on the icon, which is a telephone handset. I don't know how many of you remember when telephones actually had handsets, but the telephone handset icon is where you would unmute yourself. But don't worry about that, because we can't hear you unless I unmute you first. You can stop or start full screen view with the icon in the middle that looks like a window, a Microsoft window, as it were. You can raise your hand with the hand at the bottom of the grab tab to be recognized during question and answer sessions. You can use either your computer or telephone to listen and talk. By default, the program will use your computer audio. If you can't hear for some reason, or if you just like to use your phone, click on phone call and follow the instructions. The audio pin allows us to be able to notify you by name and to mute and unmute your phone. So if you join by phone and you did not enter your audio pin, please follow the instructions and enter your audio pin now. I don't believe we have a handout that can be downloaded for today's presentation, but the presentation will be available, I'm sure, on the NCNW website a little bit later. When a poll appears on the screen, please select and submit an answer to the poll. I think we do have a couple of polls during the presentation today. And obviously, you can use the file menu to exit the webinar or the help menu for online support during the webinar. So again, webinar facilitation and technical assistance is provided by Clarification and Mediation. We want to thank you guys for that. And we are going to go back to, I believe, Mrs. Mathis.
Thank you, William. We appreciate what you and Clara do to support the work that we do, and you're always so effective. Well, welcome everyone again to Millennial Entrepreneurs. This is the first in a series of events and activities aimed at mentoring young women whose vision for themselves is to own successful, thriving businesses. You may know that NCNW's mission is to lead, advocate for, and empower women of African descent, their families, and communities. We're broadcasting to you today from 633 Pennsylvania Avenue, the historic home of NCNW, which is halfway between the White House and the Congress. Tomorrow, the March for Our Lives will go right past our office building. When every president is inaugurated, they march past our building. We are the beneficiaries of the work of Dr. Dorothy Irene Height, whose birthday will be tomorrow, the 24th of March. She would have been 106 years old. We have a powerful legacy to carry out, and it's our privilege and our promise to do so. We carry out the mission of NCNW based on something that our national chair, Ingrid Saunders-Jones, calls Forward for the Future. Whether it's addressing and eliminating health disparities, promoting science, technology, engineering, arts, and math education, advocating for sound public policy like clean water for Flint or sensible gun regulation, NCNW wants to be here for you. One of the 4 pillars of our work is economic prosperity, with a special emphasis on entrepreneurship. You may know that today there are 2.2 million firms owned by Black women. NCNW is proud to present information to help you make the most of your resources and assets. So, on behalf of Ingrid Saunders-Jones, National President and Chair of NCNW, and Ms. Paulette Norvell-Lewis, our National Program Chair, it is my privilege to welcome you to Millennial Entrepreneurs. And we have a wonderful cast of presenters today, starting with our moderator for the discussion. She is Becky Davis, and she's known as the Chief Bosspreneur. Becky works as a business growth architect. She takes a construction crew of experts. They design business growth blueprints to help clients structure growth and build the business of their dreams. She's a member of the prestigious Forbes Magazine Coaches Council, Coaches for Odyssey Media, Black Enterprise, and the Coca-Cola Company. Please help me welcome the Bosspreneur, Ms. Becky Davis.
Thank you so much, Miss Janice. I'm excited to be here and excited about what's going on with Millennial Entrepreneur Series. I'm really excited about that. And so to kick this off with, do you have what it takes to be a boss? You know, I really like that title, being the Chief Bosspreneur and all. So I'm excited about that. And just to kind of, I did some research and realized that the Small Business Development Council have done a lot of extensive research on millennials, millennial entrepreneurs. And 61% of millennials believe that owning a business offers more security than traditional employment. So they are a lot further along and have more tools than we did when I was growing up. So 61% want to be entrepreneurs and own their own business. And it also shared that 74% of millennials say that they are more likely to start a business if they knew where to get the help, if they knew what to do. And with the right resources, 59% would start their businesses within a year. So I'm excited about this particular webinar, and this webinar series is going to be able to provide some of those resources, some of the information and the tools to help them start that business. And so we're going to start out sharing some great information from Aisha. I'm mixing the names up. Aisha Taylor is really going to start first. If you're looking at your camera, you see two ladies there, and they're going to partner together on this conversation. So we're going to start with Aisha Taylor. And so let me just kind of introduce Aisha, and then I'll kind of hand it over to her. So Aisha is the strategic partnership and program lead for Google's customer diversity team. She recently launched Google's new digital coaches program to equip and empower women and minority-owned businesses with digital marketing training across U.S. 9 pilot cities. Aisha, I am so excited to meet you. Justin, I'm so excited. In Atlanta, Austin, that's the city I'm in too. Atlanta, Austin, the Bay Area, Chicago, Detroit, LA, Miami, New York City, Washington, D.C. You go, girl. The program is a part of Google's business inclusion mission to bridge the digital divide, specifically in communities with unequal access to power and technology to drive economic growth. She received her MBA from UC Berkeley's Haas School of Business, where she focused on business strategy and corporate social responsibility. Aisha, welcome, and I'm excited that you guys are going to be sharing growing the digital marketing presence. That is so huge in today's era of entrepreneurship. You have to have a digital marketing presence. I know when I first started my business, my coach told me, because I didn't want to do it, I was reluctant and against it, and she was like, okay, so it just you might as well go ahead and close your doors to your business. And I was like, it's like that. And she was like, you have to have a presence. So this is some great information, and I'm excited. So Aisha, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Sure. Thank you for that intro, Becky. I love your energy, and I love talking to a bosspreneur. That's a new term for me. For mompreneur, now bosspreneur. I love it. So I'm so excited to be here. As Becky mentioned, I run a program that's really focused on equipping this very audience. So women and minority-owned businesses, and also people who are aspiring to be business owners and bosspreneurs in the future. So we're excited to kick off with some content. I always say we're going to roll up our sleeves in this section. So I'm first going to talk you through some trends and why having a digital presence is so critical and so important, especially for our communities. And then we're really going to get into some of digital marketing skills and expertise that Angelina will share, and we'll introduce Angelina a little bit later. And then also it's some Google tools. So my hope is that everyone leaves here feeling empowered and equipped and ready to take the next step, and feeling like they have some of the skills and the tools, or even the next step to take to grow your digital presence and ensure that people know about you, can find you, and that the information about your business is readily accessible, and you know what kind of goals to be setting. So I do believe that there's actually going to be a poll that goes up shortly, just to get a better sense of how many of you are actually current business owners and how many are not. So we have a sense of the audience. So if you could just reply to that, and that will be helpful for us as we go through the presentation. And I believe that I should also be able to be projecting the slides shortly that I'll be walking through. So William, if you wouldn't mind prompting that.
Yes, let's finish the poll first, and then I will make you the presenter.
Okay, sounds great.
And the poll, yeah, is we've got about 78% participation, so let's give it just a few more seconds and collect a couple more responses, and we'll close the poll and share the results, and then we'll get you started.
Perfect. Sounds great. You are the expert. I'll defer to all of your instructions, William. Thank you.
Okay, so let's close the poll and share the results. Can you see those results?
Yes.
Yes. Great. So we have 42% of you are actual current business owners and 58% are not, but it sounds like you are aspiring business owners and entrepreneurs. And our hope for today is that the content will be relevant regardless, but again, just helpful for us to know the audience that we're speaking to and how we can make this the most relevant for you and kind of wherever you are in the entrepreneurship journey. So we are excited. It will be good whether you're in business or not. All right. And we'll just take a moment and we'll get the slides up. And then I will talk you through, while we're doing so, just the outline of the content that we're going to walk through. So first, I mentioned we're going to talk through some stats where I'm at Google, so you will be hit with some data, of course, and some trends, and what we like to call micro moments and some other information about how consumers are really taking in information online through digital sources and how that's really relevant for you as a company or as an aspiring company when you're thinking about how to actually get new customers and how to reach new audiences. So we'll talk through a little bit of that, and then we'll transition into talking you through digital marketing goals, how you set SMART goals, which some of you may have heard of before, but we'll talk through that framework, which can be applied to your digital marketing, but can also be applied to other aspects of your business. And so we'll go through some exercises there, and then we'll talk a little bit, as I mentioned, about some of the Google tools. So hopefully that sounds good to everyone.
Okay, did you get the prompt to be a presenter?
I do not believe that I did. No. I can try from my end.
You should have received the prompt. So let me send it out again. Hold on for a moment.
There we go.
You get it?
Yep, now I got it. And you got this.
You got this.
So that's what we're starting off with. First and foremost, you got this. Wherever you are on your journey, you got this. And so I'm just going to present as a whole. There we go. Great. So the title of this is really Growing Your Digital Marketing Presence. And as I said, we're so excited to be partnering with the National Council of Negro Women to bring you this content. As you know, my name is Aisha Taylor, and I run this program that's really focused on the audience that we're speaking to now and really equipping and empowering you. So let's dive right into the data. As I mentioned, we were going to get some stats because we're Google. And I'm sure a lot of you, especially since this is a millennial audience, know that we don't just go online, we live online now. And more specifically, not just on our laptops like we used to, but we actually live on our phones. So we check our phones 150 times a day. That's probably the thing that we do the most throughout the day. We spend 177 minutes on our phones each day, at least. Probably some of you, that's a lot more. And each mobile session lasts around 70 seconds. That's over a minute, which means that sometimes you might have gone into your phone to check one thing, and you know how it is where you get sucked in that rabbit hole, and all of a sudden you're looking online, you're searching things, you're responding to different things. So all this to say is that we're constantly on our phones, and that's the new place where new audiences and new customers are going to be because we spend so much time on digital platforms. So what we call at Google these times where we're checking our phones, we call them micro moments. That's essentially a time where you want to do something. You are spurred to, look, you want to find something, you want to go somewhere, you want to chat with someone. And it's a split moment where you're making a decision about the next step. Oftentimes you're looking for information about something, and you want information at your fingertips really fast, and you want to make a decision really fast, and you want the answer or the next step really fast. And so what we say is that businesses have just a moment, just a micro moment, to influence a customer's journey and really influence them to hopefully take the next step that's most profitable and beneficial for your business. So I'm going to talk you through some examples of how some businesses have been really successful in really leveraging these micro moments and leveraging digital moments and tools to grow their business. I had the pleasure of meeting my dear friend now, who has owned this beauty salon in New Orleans. And, she started out as a local salon owner and had a brick and mortar store, so a physical location first for a beauty salon. And then she ended up actually deciding that she wanted to grow her business. And so she started an e-commerce platform. She started to try to sell different products online, but knew that she really needed to grow that through different digital tools. She needed to reach audiences, not just in her immediate neighborhood, where she usually did with the physical salon, but how is she going to now reach new customers across the US and actually even internationally. So she started using AdWords, a tool that we're going to talk about a little bit later, to advertise online, which means that she started to bid and pay to show up at the top of our search results in those ad buckets that you see, and to really have compelling language and ads about her particular products that she was showcasing. And in 2016 alone, she reached over 43,000 customers and doubled her revenue in that year alone. Again, just because when, in her own words, she physically can't be everywhere, but her advertising, her digital presence and her products actually can be if she's using the web to her advantage. And within 6 months, she was selling overseas. And she always talks about how she wants to go overseas, but at least her products have gone there in the meantime. We also have worked with Walker & Company, which is a really incredible company based in Silicon Valley. And what they did is use YouTube videos to really build awareness and customer services, as well as AdWords to drive traffic to their website. So they were a great case study of a company that said, our audience is probably young professionals and millennials. They're on YouTube specifically. So how do we make a compelling brand that's engaging, create interesting video content, and have that uploaded consistently and actually use it as a funnel to bridge the gap and find new customers, again, outside of our direct location. So that was another really successful example, and maybe slightly different from the first one, but again, using digital properties and platforms really effectively to find new audiences. Oops. Sorry about that. I think it shut down. Can you still see the presentation? Okay, thanks. Sorry guys, I think the presentation may have shut for just a moment because I think it had tried to play a video. So give me just a sec. I promise we know technology over here at Google. This always happens whenever I'm doing a presentation about Google. I'm like, I promise we're tech savvy.
We can't still see your screen.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just giving Aisha the presentation.
Awesome. Can you actually email it to
Email
me?
it.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to also take a break to remind you that you got this. In case you were feeling slightly overwhelmed by these successful companies and testing and growing overseas and all of those things, just know that you can do it too. And we will get back to the presentation shortly. But I think, again, I can also take a break if you want to ask a question.
Yeah, let me ask you a question while he's working on that. When you talked about how much we touch our phones, was that data for everyone, or was that for millennials, or that's across the board?
Yeah. That's a great question. That was an average across the board, which means that it's probably even higher for millennials. So probably for the audience that we're talking to, and I'd say myself and even Angelina, I don't know if that I'm still considered a millennial.
Gen Z is more like 300 times a day. I just researched
Yes.
for Gen
Yes.
Z closer. So the college age students and under, they're in the 300s.
Yeah. Okay. I figured it was higher because I could probably see myself at the 150, but my daughters, who are in their 20s, that phone is, I don't think it leaves their hand. So I figured that. Gotcha.
And we are almost
We're
back. Yeah, so that's completely correct. And also notably with the YouTube data as well, YouTube consumption is, again, much, much higher with millennials than it is for the average population. So that's interesting to think about when you're a business and you're trying to reach different audiences, knowing that there's discrepancies and differences between the audience that you're trying to reach. If you have a product or service, or you know that you're going to be marketing to an older demographic, you know that maybe they're not on their phone as much, and maybe they're on their laptops a little bit more, or if it's a millennial audience or younger demographic, you know that they're on their phones a ton, they're on social media a ton. So really understanding your audience is really critical, and we'll get into a little bit of that later as well. So the last example is another great business that we saw, Makers Row, that's based here. I don't know why that keeps happening. That is bizarre. Sorry, guys. Is it back to not my presentation? There we go. So the majority of our traffic comes from, again, people that even if it's a manufacturing company, again, it's coming from various different digital sources, and how you leverage that is going to be really important for your business. And at the end of the day, what I love so much about technology is that whether you're a very large company and a big business, or you're a small business, that the web can work across the board. That the web, when it's doing its job and when we're leveraging it correctly, it's actually a democratizing force that helps all of us kind of be at a level playing field. Whether you have huge budgets or small budgets, there's ways to actually find your audiences, or if you have no budgets at all, there's like great, cost-effective, easy ways to reach new audiences across various platforms, whether it be Google and social and others, that any business should really be leveraging, because that's really what we call your digital storefront. That's the place that people go to look for you being credible, you being a credible source. And when they start to see you pop up in lots of different places, it just emphasizes, again, that you are probably the leader in your space or the industry, or something that they should know more about. So now I'm going to let our fantastic moderator introduce my dear colleague, Angelina Darasaw. And I'll also pause if you had any questions for her.
Yes, and let me just say to everyone, please post your questions or raise your hand if you have questions, because we're going to do a Q&A at the end, so we can kind of dig a little deeper in and answering some of your questions. And Aisha, I think it was the information you shared was so great, especially about having the digital storefront, which creates the social proof. And in today's age, without the social proof, how would you say that impacts a person in business?
Yeah, exactly. And I think what we also found is people consult various sources before making a decision. So they'll, look at your website, they'll look at your social presence, they'll look at where else maybe your YouTube page, etc. We're very savvy now, and you're looking at especially with the millennial audience, they're very digitally savvy, and they're just very savvy. They kind of can see through if you're not authentic, and they're going to look to get that social proof and ensure that you're legit. So having a strong presence is absolutely, absolutely key.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I am excited to hand it over now to Miss Angelina. Angelina is the founder and the CEO of C-Suite Coach. I like that name too. A career coaching platform that provides accessible professional development, content, and resources to diverse millennial professionals. So you have an expert here talking directly to you. C-Suite Coach collaborates with employees to retain and engage diverse employees. C-Suite Coach was the first prize winner of Uber's New York Pitch competition. Congratulations on that. C-Suite Coach has been featured in Forbes, in Essence, and in Monster.com. And Angelina services small businesses as the Google digital coach and bridges the digital divide by offering free coaching services to more than 2,000 diverse small businesses. Oh, congratulations. That's making a huge impact. Angelina holds an MA in management from Wake Forest University and a certificate of coaching from the New York University. She also has a BA in political science from Davidson College. So welcome, Angelina. We're going to hand it over to you to kind of give us a little bit of insights about yourself and share with us more about this digital marketing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Becky. And so the first thing I'll say is when Aisha puts up that quote, "You got this," please keep motivational reminders around you. What we speak really does come into existence. I am 2.5 years. It'll be 3 years in July of being in business. And it is definitely, there can be times where it's an emotional roller coaster. So please keep all the positive messages and all the positive vibes around you. I'm really excited to be here with you today. So now that they've introduced me, you know a little bit about my company, I want to kick it off just talking about why we're here. So when we think about Google digital tools and bridging that digital divide, there's a two-part reason for that. Currently, underrepresented communities are not leveraging online tools at the same rate. So there's a missed opportunity for our businesses if we are not leveraging online tools. And it also drives impact both for Google and our businesses. So it's about ethics and it's about economics. According to the Department of Commerce, non-minority owned businesses are in decline, but we are consistently seeing growth in Black owned businesses, in Latinx owned businesses, and also in women owned businesses. However, when surveying diverse small business owners and trying to understand why we aren't using online tools at the same rate, we found that 65% of diverse small business owners feel like it's too complicated. I don't know what I'm doing. And I've definitely been there. I've been there in those moments where maybe even a tool I knew really well had an update and something changed and it becomes very complicated and it can be frustrating and you don't want to do it. Think about a time where you may have downloaded an app and it took too many screens for you to figure out how to make it all work. And you put it in that folder that goes to Never Never Land and never see it again. Well, when it comes to your business, we have to get over that and we have to be encouraged and motivated, because if we're not online, we're missing a huge opportunity to connect with our customer. 89% of customers are turning to internet search engines, the number one being Google, before they make a decision about a product or service. So all of those things, looking for social proof, looking for credibility, looking to know more about your product or service, that's what your potential customer is coming to you for. So if you're not online, it leads to a lot of potential for missed economic opportunities. The other thing that I think about, so now going on year 3, there's so much fire under me to grow my business. And I always say, for me personally, my goal, I'll know I made it when I'm paying people's health insurance, right? So if you are someone that wants to create jobs, if you want to have economic impact in your community and employ people, then you need your business to grow. Businesses that use online tools to are twice as likely to create jobs and grow 40% faster. So when that digital tool, that app that seems a little scary or overwhelming is a struggle for you, I just want you to be thinking about, could I be creating jobs if I just get over this hump and make sure that I figure out how to leverage online to grow my business? So now we are going to get into some of the tools. And when it comes to thinking about why being online matters, one of the things I like to call out about Google in particular, and when we're thinking about search for business, The customers coming to search, it's very different than when you're on social media and you might have an engagement with a business, perhaps because they had a paid ad or something else was going on that brought that business to your attention. When people are coming to Google, your potential customers are coming to Google, they're coming with high intent. So for example, 76% of people who are searching on their smartphones want to visit a nearby business within the next day. I think about when I leave work, for instance, and I want something to eat, I'm going to Google to find out what's nearby, not because I'm just looking to explore my options, it's because I'm hungry and I'm motivated to find food. So that's what's going on for your potential customer. They're coming to Google with a problem to solve, and they want to uncover your business to solve that problem. Really powerful to think about how you could show up for your potential customers. Then when it comes to thinking about being online, what does it mean? We talk about how we live online. What does it mean to be online for your business? There are a lot of different ways that you can show up online. Definitely through advertising. You want to make sure that you are attracting new customers through advertising online. Through content creation, through proving that you are a thought leader in your space and contributing to relevant conversations. That could include blogging. We talk about YouTube and how much video is really important for businesses. So it could include vlogging. It can include social media, commenting on Twitter, posting, creating your own content. It also is about having a strong website. So whether or not you have a business right now, I believe there's a poll here. How many of you have a website?
All right, let me pull that poll up. Give me just 1 second.
Awesome. Thank you, William.
Not a problem. So we've launched the poll. Do you have a website? So go ahead and answer that question. We keep the poll open for about 30 seconds or more, just so that we can capture a good percentage of the participants.
Yesterday, I was giving a workshop, and a woman who does piano lessons for students in her neighborhood said that when she first launched, she was putting flyers all around with her phone number, and no one reached out to her. She had no leads from them, and she really invested in putting flyers everywhere. It was a big deal for her. And she said that, I think the reason why is because I didn't have a website, and no one could find out more information about my credibility. She just had put a phone number and information about where she was, but no website. So no one could really follow up and research her company.
Wow. So let me see. I'm not sure. Can you see these results?
Yes.
In your, you can? Okay, go right ahead.
So 54% of you have a website.
Yeah, which is interesting because it's even more than
the business owners. There's more of you with websites than business owners. So this is particularly relevant. And if you're starting a website, then this is exactly what you need to be thinking about, the things that we're going to talk about in just the next 2 slides. And how do we get the presentation done?
Are super tech savvy, the two of us over here. William, do we need a prompt from you again for the presentation to go back on, or is there something?
No, actually, it should remain. Even when I go to a poll, when I finish the poll, it goes back to your shared screen, but for some reason, your presentation, we can see you got this.
Okay.
But not the presentation itself.
All right. We just
there we go.
Make sure you know you got this.
We're really going to
we're hitting that home. So hopefully seeing it a lot helps you feel confident and empowered today.
You'll probably see it again in a few minutes.
So one of the things I like to call about this slide is when we think about all these different ways to show up online, having a website, investing in your advertising on Google, on social media, creating content, all of these are different parts of being up on the internet. But what does it all boil down to? I know you can't respond, so I'll tell you. It's money, it's sales, it's revenue. I think this is really important because a lot of times the internet is crowded and there's so many places you can be. But as a small business owner, we have limited time, we have limited resources. So instead of trying to really focus on being everywhere, what's really key is thinking about how does this have impact to my business at the end of the day. So one thing I'll see happen is I'll see a lot of in marketing folks say, you know, post this many times, this amount on these many platforms a day, and do this on Twitter, do this on Instagram, do this on Pinterest. But really think critically about where your potential customers are and what those actions mean for your business. If you don't have an audience that is coming to you, that's driving sales on Instagram, Instagram's a great platform and a lot of people use it, but is that the right place for your business? The other thing I want you to think about is a well-designed website. So often that can sound like something beautiful with many animations, with lots of great color schemes. That is all well and good. But when we think about what is the purpose of our website, it is about creating that customer journey. So the experience that a user, a potential customer coming to your website, what do they go through to end up meeting whatever it is the goal for your business is. So how do I design my website in a way to drive sales, to drive whatever a conversion means for my business? Depending on what kind of business you have, if you have a service business, you may want people to book a consultation with you. You might want people to join your online community so they can know when you're putting on events, or you might be selling directly from your website. Whatever the case is, it is about structuring your website in a way that the user experience takes them to meeting your ultimate goal. So that's really important. And then when we think about search is something that we've been talking about a few times in the last few minutes. And that's because that is the number one thing customers do when they're thinking about a product or service. They go to search. So there are two ways to show up in search. One of those ways is organically. If you've ever heard of organic, it is any search result essentially that's not paid. That's not an advertisement. So when you put something in your search box, that's called a query, and whatever comes up that's not labeled an ad is organic search, organic results. So that's one way to show up. You can improve how you show up in organic search results through a process called search engine optimization, SEO. If you haven't heard of it before, I encourage you to look it up. There's lots of free resources that are out there on Google. And that is things like making sure the right keywords are in your site, posting and updating your website regularly. There's lots of areas where you could work on your SEO. But one thing I will tell you is that it can be a time-consuming process, and it can also take time for your website to get higher in the search results. So if you launch a website tomorrow, for the 46% of you that haven't launched a website yet, you're likely not going to be organically at the top of search results overnight. It's a process for you to improve where you stand. So if you launch a website tomorrow and you want new traffic, how do you get new users to your website? You can do that through still being at the top of search results, but through a paid advertising. So the other results that you'll see if you go to google.com and search for something you need are paid ads. And that's through a process called pay-per-click advertising. And you use a product called AdWords or AdWords Express to get there. Also to just be thinking about is the power of email marketing. Just the other day, Aisha and I were doing a workshop with a PhD candidate, and she had a powerful exercise where she made everyone raise their hands, whether they had Instagram. So think in your mind, do you have Instagram? Do you have Snapchat? Do you have Facebook? Maybe the answer isn't yes for every single one of those, but do you have email? That was the question she had us all think about, and everyone raised their hand in this room full of people. So there's still power in thinking about how do you leverage building a community to let more people know about your product or service. So
let me ask a question real quick, Aisha. That last slide was amazing, and it's all the things that we need to do as business owners to really take our business to the next level. But one of the things that I think you, Aisha, and you talked about, Angelina, is the overwhelm piece of it when you're starting a business. Like you said, you've been in business 2 years. Now I've been in business. This will be my 6th year going in business. And in the first year or two, I was in overwhelm state as I looked at all these different pieces that I needed to add to my business. When you started to add these to your business model, model, what are some of the things that you did to start out to kind of help you not get into overwhelm? Because I think sometimes we see such a big picture that we don't take the small steps, and it stops us from taking any step.
Yeah, so I think one of the things to think about is strategic decisions about what to prioritize. The other part to think about is what can I do myself? Where are my skill sets and how much resources do I have versus what might I need to outsource to someone else? Yeah. SEO is something that I would definitely outsource, right? So working with a professional who can help you on those strategies. Then the other piece is just thinking about what can be automated. So what was on that last slide when we talked about all the different ways you can show up to be online, one of the things I think about is needing to post, because some of my audience is on Twitter, is on LinkedIn, is on Facebook. So how do I automate that process for me so I don't have to think about it? There are tweets that are going and tweeting when I'm in workshops or when I'm in other meetings. And that's because I use tools to automate processes for me. So the more you can find ways to create a system, that overwhelm starts to fade away. Not trying to do it all at once, and we'll talk about SMART goals coming up, but breaking down the areas where you need to make progress and creating some goals in each area.
Yeah. Thank you.
So there's that great saying, if you, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And that really is true. And that goes in every aspect of your business, but certainly in marketing. And as you're thinking about how do I attract new customers? So it all begins with first thinking about your perfect customer. Of all of the pieces of planning on this slide, number one is probably my favorite. I think back to 2.5 years ago, July 2015, when I was out of my full-time job and I had a cushy salary. I miss it.
Let's just take a moment.
Let's just take a moment. RIP to the salary. I had benefits, all of these things that you don't think about. I didn't have to think about accountants and legal infrastructure to make sure, I'm protected. I didn't have to think about any of that stuff. But so there was some anxiousness that came when I first left, and I felt like I just need money. I need to make sure I have money coming in. And so I would take any customer that came my way, and they weren't necessarily the perfect customer for my business. So that created some problems because I was doing work that I didn't necessarily always want to do. B, we didn't always mesh well because we weren't the right fit. And when I changed my mind around that and thought about who is my perfect customer? Who is it that I'm really trying to do business with and reach? That's when I saw an evolution of my happiness of my life, but also in my business. So the first thing, especially when you're thinking about how you're going to outreach to this customer from a digital marketing standpoint, you have to think about who is your perfect customer. Your perfect customer is going to be the kind that isn't haggling you over your prices because they understand the value of your services. They are going to be the kind that refers you to other people because they're so happy with the work that you've done. That's the kind of customer you want. So spend some time thinking about just not everyone out there being the right person for me, but how do I hone in on what my perfect customer looks like? What are their habits? What is their lifestyle like? A good thing to also be thinking about is you can have more than one, but make sure you give each one a separate identity. So if you have segments of perfect customers, you're marketing to them in a different way. So that's one thing that I think is very important for you all to be thinking about.
I so agree with you, because as you were talking about this and that, and I love that it's number one, because it affects everything else in that in the graph, because I too, when I first started, and most of the clients that I work with, small business owners, you want the money coming in. And so because you want the money coming in, you cast your net so wide. And now the net is so wide, no one really is clear on who you are and what you do, because you're trying to do everything, or you're trying to service people that you shouldn't be services. And then those people can drive you crazy because it's like, oh, why am I doing this? But being able to identify that target customer, I learned that there were riches in niches. And if we focus on those niches, we could really make more money. And I think it's definitely a mental shift that, we think if the community is too small. I actually was working with one of my team members on doing some ads, and she looked at some of the ads that I ran in the past, and she said, your audience is way too big, Becky. And she was like, we have to narrow this down. And it was just the aha. I was like, see, those are things that are like rookie moves, things that you're like, okay, the more people I get, the better off. And it's actually the exact opposite. But knowing exactly who my client is, what their needs are, I can speak specifically to them instead of trying to speak to everyone. So I think this is so important that as you are planning, that your first step is about who is your ideal customer, and it shouldn't be 15 different personalities.
Absolutely. That totally makes all the difference. And that point about just feeling frustrated, if you're not landing your perfect customer, you're dealing with business that you may not even want. So there's something really powerful about honing in on what your niche is and who you want to serve. You really have agency in that, okay? So that's one thing to take away. And then the second thing is understanding why your customers should choose you. So just think about why you've chosen. There's lots of different businesses. We're now in a place where almost every marketplace is pretty saturated, and every day we're making choices of one business over another, right? So it could be because of location. It could be because of what it represents. Sometimes if I have a choice, I'll choose the Black-owned business versus the other business. There might be things that stand out for why you're making choices every day for choosing a business. So think about your business and why your customers would choose you over another business. This becomes really important when you're starting to think about the language you're going to use to reach your perfect customer in your marketing plan. And then along those lines, what is your unique selling proposition? So there's that saying, faster, better, or cheaper. Usually you can't be all three. Which one are you? What is it that makes you really different in how you serve your customers? And what are you doing to really meet their key problems? And when we talk about how much there is to do in this space, because there is a lot when it comes to digital marketing, there are a lot of places to be. One of the things that can be really helpful is putting a framework behind your goals that you have in this space. So instead of, you may walk away from this seminar and the first thought might be, I need to really work on my digital marketing. That's going to be a goal for, the next calendar year quarter, April through June, I'll be working on my digital marketing. That's really great. But it's also very vague and very broad. If you want to get away from that overwhelmed feeling, one of the things that can help is putting a framework behind what exactly that means. So then your goals become something that you can easily apply tactics to and have a strategy for how you're going to accomplish that. I'll break down what SMART goals means in just a minute, but there's lots of different frameworks. SMART goals is really like the golden standard of how to achieve goals. Then you're going to choose the tactics, the right tactics to attract your perfect clients. So again, thinking about how much there is out there, are my clients the perfect customer I'm trying to reach? Is Pinterest even a part of their daily lifestyle? Then why am I spending so much time on Pinterest? Really be thoughtful about where your customers are and how to reach them. And then the very last piece when it comes to thinking about a marketing plan is going to be about consistency. Right? So you commit to all the other 5 pieces, and then you're just consistent in your actions. And as you do that, you'll find that you're attracting more customers. So this is when we're thinking about perfect customers, some questions you can be asking yourself. What is the big problem that your perfect customer is trying to solve? What are their pain points? What's keeping them up at night? And then what is it that they're looking to achieve? What kind of result? After they work with you, then what? What should be what they walk away feeling like they've accomplished? And then to even help in how you address them or how you even think about, for instance, what are the right marketing tactics for this customer? Do some thinking about what's their lifestyle like? What are their habits? Are they waking up every day and checking news on Twitter at 7 a.m.? What is their personality? What's really key to them? And that can help you figure out how you want to attract them and how you want to be leveraging marketing to reach them. So when thinking about SMART goals, it really is just breaking down a large goal that you have and applying a framework to make it more achievable and tangible, more reachable for you. So it starts out with making sure, A, that your goal is specific. It has a specific number or date attached to it so that you can know, I'm not for instance, by the end of Q2, I want to have this done. Making sure that you can track your progress through it being measurable, making sure it makes sense based on your current circumstances. So if you know, for instance, for those of you that don't have a website and a website may cost you X amount of money and you haven't saved that yet, is it realistic to say I'm going to have this website by next week if that was when my SMART goal was? Or do I have to make sure that I need to take extra steps before I do it? So maybe I'll push that deadline back, right? So thinking about what really makes sense for where you are, that the goal supports your vision of success, that it ties back to your business, and then that it's tangible, that it has actual value for your company. So again, thinking about what is going to help me drive sales at the end of the day. So here are some examples of SMART goals. I'll just read out one of them and you all can look at them right there. But improving sales by 25%. So really making sure I have a metric there to 500,000. So knowing where I am now to what that extra 25% means. And then it's time bound by December 31st. So I'm not letting that goal just be in the air forever. I'm giving some time so I can actually achieve that and accomplish it. When it comes to that part about thinking your right finding out what your right digital marketing tactics are, spend some time thinking about where is my audience spending their time online? That question that we were talking about earlier, what resources do I have? What are my skills? Do I have the time resources? Maybe I'm spending the majority of my time working on my product or my service, and digital marketing isn't where I can focus. So that might be a situation where I'll say, I'm going to outsource to an expert versus trying to do it myself, because it does have to be done if you want your business to grow. So think realistically about how much time you have to focus on it. And then if you are the person that can do it, being honest about if you need training to execute on it. Do I need anything additional to make this happen for myself? For those of you that don't have a website, which was about 46% of you, you can get one for free at gybo.com/business. And so it's just a way for you to start with having that proof of what your business does, letting some customers find out some critical information about you, so how they can reach you. And it's one way that you can get started. There are a bunch of other platforms that can go from free to premium that you can experiment with as well. When you do get websites, and I think we have a poll question here, William, how many of you, for the 54% of you that have websites, how many of you have analytics on your website?
Yes, let me pull up that poll.
Thank you.
Give me just 1 second. All right, the poll has been launched. Do you use analytics? We'll leave it open for a minute and see how many responses we can get.
If you do not have a website yet, the first thing I want you to be thinking about is making sure you sign up for an analytics account. Also a free, completely free product by Google.
We're going to give it 15 more seconds and see if we can get a couple more responses in.
So 41% of you are using analytics and 59% aren't. That is a key action step that I want you to be thinking about for anybody that has a website or is about to launch a website, making sure you have analytics. Analytics is really powerful. Earlier, Aisha was sharing some stats and talking about the power of data. Google is using data constantly to drive decisions, and you should be using data too. Our guts are great and they're strong, but there's nothing like having some data to either affirm our guts or help us recognize when our guts are not what we thought it was. So there are some key things that you can see in analytics. You can see how many people came to your website. If you spend a lot of time and money on building your website, you may want to know if people are coming and what that return on your investment looks like. You're able to see where people came, where they're sitting when they look at your website, so where they're physically located, and that can be very powerful. But you're also able to see the source of your traffic. So when we think about understanding where we should be spending our marketing efforts, knowing how people are getting to you is very powerful. If you realize that the majority of your traffic is coming from social media advertisements, for instance, you might say, I want to increase my spend on social media because it's having an impact, a positive impact on my business and the traffic to my website. If you're realizing that the majority is coming from your email marketing campaign, you might say, I don't really like spending the time to do my CRM, but it's really effective. So I'm going to make sure I prioritize that. So that's something to be thinking about, knowing where your traffic is coming from to help inform how you move forward with your digital marketing decisions and strategies. And we are coming up on the end. The last thing I want to tell you about is how you can leverage paid per click advertising and how it all works. We talked about those micro moments when your customer needs something or wants to do something. That's what's happening for us all the time. When we have a need, when something happens, the first thing that we do is figure out how we're going to solve that need. So quick example, I have a couch. It's my first real couch that I bought for myself, so I was really excited about it. And I also have a dog, and my dog decided to chew a pen and burst it all over my couch. So what happens? I have a need, I have a pain point, a problem that I'm trying to resolve. And I go to Google and I look up ink stain removal. Turns out there's not really a good way to do that other than hiring a professional. So then I look up ink stain removal professionals. I see a list of websites. Some of them are organic, some of them are paid. The paid one actually had a very compelling offer. It told me a flat rate for what the ink stain removal would be. And I said, okay, that sounds good. I can afford that. I like that. I click on it, and then it sends me to the website. The website took me right to a page. It wasn't the home page. It was a page where I could fill out more information about my stain. And I had a quote within an hour. I booked them for the next day, and my stain was removed from my couch. So pretty powerful. So that's exactly the experience. Think about your business. And one thing I like to call out is don't just think about the product you have or what your service is. Think about what your customer needs, because often they may not even know. You might be the right product or service for them, but they don't know you exist. And this is about driving new customers. So put your mind into the frame of reference for your potential customer. What does your customer need? What is their pain point? And how do you leverage an ad to solve that need for them? So that's really a powerful way to make sure that you're attracting new customers. This really is important because it's a customer acquisition tool. And I like to say that it's on you then to have that journey on your website that turns that visit into an actual conversion for your business. So that's where the power of having a website where you've been really thoughtful about what are the steps a customer should go through on your site becomes really critical. You can Google AdWords will definitely drive new traffic to your business, but it is all about making sure that you set up your website in a way that makes it easy for customers to do business with you. In AdWords, advertisers pay for clicks. So this is one of my favorite things about this product is I'm not just paying for people engaging with my ads. I'm only paying when people actually visit my website. So that's really powerful. Anytime there's an ad, it's clearly labeled as an ad so your customers know. But again, if the information that you put in your ad is really compelling, you can see, for instance, in this example, that ad says take 10% off your first order. That might be very compelling for me, and I'm going to then click on it if there's something that stands out to me that can help solve my need. So definitely let's stay in touch. I realize that about 50% of you are actively in business. If you would like a coupon for $100 off to experiment with AdWords, please feel free to shoot me an email. I can also send you some more resources, a workbook that can help make this an easier process for you and get some of this thought process going around how to work on your digital marketing strategies. And again, if you'd like a coupon with $100 off to trial AdWords, you spend $25 and you get $125 to play with. Feel free to shoot me an email.
Oh, I think that's absolutely amazing. So everyone should definitely be
Yes.
your email inbox should start to start hear some clicks going in. So Angelina, let me ask a question, and we're going to open this up for Q&A right now too. So please ask your questions, and I'll share those questions with Aisha and Angelina to be able to answer some of your questions. There's no crazy question. So if you have one, please ask the question so we can have these experts help you through this process. So I want to kick it off with a question. Myself and William, you let me know what questions come up so that I can prepare those. But you know, when people think about all the different things from a digital marketing standpoint, and they don't know, you know, where do I start first, or oh my God, this is going to cost me a lot of money. What would you advise as a simple, fast first step that people can take that can get them started in the process?
Well, not just because I just presented about AdWords, but I do think AdWords is a good place to get started, and I'll tell you why. When you've just spent time and money and resources to build a website, you at least want to drive traffic to that website and have people know that your website exists. So that's one way to get started. I'm going to give you something else for free that I usually only give to my clients, and I'll tell you, it's just a secret, but it's not really a secret. You should also be thinking about getting exposure for your business by being quoted as an expert. You want to demonstrate your expertise. So one place you can go to is Harrow, helpareporterout.com. And journalists just post when they're looking for quotes. If your business fits into any of those categories, that's definitely a good way to also start getting exposure about your business.
Oh, that was a good nugget.
I have some good ones.
That was a really good, a good nugget to start kind of jumping in. Okay, let me look and see questions that we might have. William, I think
I've got a couple of
hand raised.
Yes, I got a couple of people with hands raised. Let's see if they're still out there. Miss Burns, I have unmuted you. Do you still have a question?
No.
Okay. How about, let's see, we'll remute Miss Burns. Miss Richardson? Karita Richardson, I've unmuted you. You still have a question? Ms. Richardson's not there. We'll move down the line. Joyce Parks.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies, for the great information. I have a question about the Google free website. Does it integrate with the CRMs as well?
With like customer, no,
like get response and those type of things?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. It's a newer free resource. I know that it's very basic, so it's very much a starter website. If you feel like you already have other tools that you're using and you're a little farther along, like digitally, then you might want to look into a website that has more full functionality. So I'm not entirely sure about all of the various CRM integrations. Just to be honest, I'm happy to look into it while we're on the call, and if I can get you an answer by the call, then I'll definitely shout that out. Otherwise, I know I have spoken to other people who wanted to continue to build and incorporate other various platforms and plugs and all that type of stuff. And I usually recommend that they start with maybe a more sophisticated website, even if you have to pay a little bit. In the long term, it's probably worth it.
Yeah. So one thing I'll add is I leverage Wix to host my websites, and you can absolutely integrate a CRM system in there so that, for instance, when people subscribe on my website, it goes straight into a folder within my CRM platform, and I know information about them based on when they subscribe. So that might be one tool. The free products, I will say the only product where I feel like there are no limits is Google Analytics. You should absolutely have it on your website. But for some of the free hosting platforms, there are some limits to the free.
All right. Thank you so much.
That was a great question.
Yeah.
Let's see. Miss Patterson, Angela Patterson. Miss Patterson, are you there? Let's move down to Agoro.
Hello?
And
Hi.
Agoro. Thought we had her.
Okay.
I think someone else
Can you hear
answered
me?
too, William.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, yes.
Okay, great. Hi. So I kind of have to describe my situation before I ask my question. So I'm 20 years old. I've had a business since I was 9. I had a physical storefront when I was in high school, but when I moved to college, I moved out of state. I moved from Texas to DC. So I had to shut the store down because it wasn't functioning as well without me. Now I'm kind of trying to still do my business out of my dorm room. But the biggest thing I'm finding is that I can't necessarily afford to have a consistent amount of inventory because I don't have that physical store presence anymore. So it's hard to make sure that I can afford to keep up inventory consistently. And I'm trying to get my online presence up. I have a website on Shopify, and I'm doing okay, but I'm trying to rebuild my business while in college. And I just want to know if you guys had any advice for that, because it's a little bit frustrating. I think I didn't realize how good it was to have a store, and when you have a physical storefront, how hard it is to move away from that, especially since I'm in a new market and a new state.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit to that. Feel free to chime in. So I think when I alluded earlier that your digital presence is like your digital storefront, what that means is I think when you have a physical storefront, you almost naturally are going to get traffic sometimes because you're just visible in front of people. And I think for your digital presence, again, people might build a website and assume that people are just going to come through in the same way that you would think for a physical store, except that that's not the case. Because it's so much more complicated online. There's so many different players and websites and platforms. And so you really have to figure out how you're going to differentiate yourself and also how you're going to get in front of your audiences in a digital way instead of in the physical sense. So I think I'm not sure what your marketing tactics have been, but I'd say one of the prime areas that I hear people talk about is, again, building it and assuming people will come, but you actually need to also invest in getting people to Shopify site or whatever site you're using as your primary site. So that's going to be, you're welcome to have the $100 free when you spend $25 and try and see if AdWords works for you. And that's really when people are bidding on looking for terms that might be relevant for your business. You should definitely be building out your social presence, your multiple different areas where you want to find, again, who's your perfect customer, where are they online, how are you getting your business in front of them? Because if they don't know about you and you're not actually tangibly in front of them, then it's hard. Yeah, it's definitely hard to keep up the momentum and enough traffic to and enough inventory. So in that transition, I think that's definitely the biggest thing, not just having the digital presence, but having an actual marketing strategy for finding people and getting them to your website and to the purchase pages.
Okay, and then can I? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I said I totally agree with what Aisha is saying, because what it sounds like to you, your digital marketing strategy right now is what's going to drive people to do business with you, because the most the thing that we hate the most is to be the best kept secret. And that's what it sounds like. Well, no one knows that I'm doing this and I'm trying to start it. and kind of do it from my dorm room. And there's been tons of multi-million-dollar businesses started from dorm rooms. So don't give up in the process. There needs to be a strategy and some specific goals to what Angelina talked about, some specific goals that you need to look at where that particular customer and where they are, and how do I get to them? What step do I take in trying the ads word? Because that'll give you some analytics and some data to continue on what you should keep, what you should not do, by having a specific strategy. Because if you don't have a strategy, and when I say a strategy, specific action steps to get you to a goal, because what we do is keep a lot of the thoughts in our mind and we'll implement as we think about it. That's not really a strategy. And so we need to actually have you need to actually have a strategy to help plan you through that process so that you can get to the goal that you desire.
Spoken like a chief boss.
Was that helpful?
Yeah, I think it definitely is. I sell clothes and do personal styling services. So
Okay.
The biggest thing has been trying to keep up my inventory. But I think I've noticed that some other people who do personal styling just post on social media of celebrities wearing certain things, and they use that to kind of keep up their social media presence. So I think I'm going to try some of that, and that way I can keep up with my social media, even if I don't have a lot of products.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea. Well, thank you for your question.
And please email me your website. I'm interested. I love clothes.
Me too.
I know, and she said styling too. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
might need to check out a couple of things.
Right, yeah.
Anything else, William?
Yes, let me see. We have a number of questions that have been submitted in writing. An easy one is, a quick one. What is CRM?
Customer relationship management. So there are a lot of different tools that you can use. A popular one, for instance, is MailChimp. Sometimes whoever hosts your website will have one that's native to their platform. So meaning it easily integrates with their website hosting services. But it is a way to get some structure to collecting all of the email addresses so you can outreach to your customers through email.
And to add on to what Angelina just said, I'm sure your inbox is inundated with emails from different companies that you purchased something from. They're using a customer relationship management system. That's what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Let me see. What elements should a strong email for advertising contain?
That's wrong. So I'm guessing you mean like an email that goes out to whatever listserv you have access to.
Yeah, I would. That sounds like it.
I'll assume that. And if there's someone who's on the call, please raise your hand and interject. So I actually used to work on another team at Google, and one of my clients did a lot of paid email advertising, though you can do free email advertising too if you already have a list to draw on. And I think the major components that we talked about is like the heading. The heading is the key. The heading is everything, because that's the thing that's going to inspire people to open up your email or not. So having a really compelling heading, maybe it's asking a question, maybe it's like offering something in the heading, whatever it might be that's relevant to catch the attention of your audience is the first place to start. The second, and sometimes you can actually test, you can use maybe different headings for different audience segments and see which one's performing best in terms of open rates. The other thing is keeping the actual text very minimal, because I think people are inundated with emails all the time that are very long. So keeping your actual kind of layout very simple. We used to say like having 3 parts max. So having like maybe the top part in the heading, a photo or content, and then a photo down below or in the middle, whatever it might be, but usually not having more than 3 components because it can get overwhelming. And then the third is having a very clear call to action. So what are you using that email for? you know, people's time is precious and valuable. So what are you asking them to do? And are you making it super easy and seamless for them to take that next step? So if it's a promotion, if it's a sign up for another, you know, newsletter or something else, that you have a webinar, something like that, make it very easy and don't hide that call to action. Make it like front and center and like super easy for the user.
The call to action is something I would definitely echo. And then one other thing I think about sometimes is this easily shareable?
Yeah.
So am I putting something in this email that the person receiving it would want to forward to all their friends? So that's something that can really help your content. If your content is very shareable, help expand that audience.
Ooh, those are all great. Okay, William, you have another one?
Yes. Miss Senegal, are you there? I've unmuted you. Would you like to ask your question? Stephanie Senegal?
Beautiful name.
Yeah.
Just a little shy today. Oh, so I think that you muted yourself, Stephanie. Go ahead. We should be able to hear you now. Okay, a little difficulty there. Let me try another person here. Hold on. Miss Johnson, are you there?
Yes.
Go ahead and ask your question.
Oh, okay. Hi, everyone, and thank you, ladies, for having this webinar. It's been very informative. My question is, I have a business, and I know that typically businesses, fail in the first 2 years, and this is my second year of directly self-employment income tax returns. So I'm excited about that because I'm legit now. So, because I'm in politics, I have a brand management company, so I run political campaigns, and I also help startups.
Work.
Yeah, I also help startups, entrepreneurs, and business owners build infrastructure for their business. But because the political season is what it is right now, it's really saturated. And hello, Miss Mathis. Hey,
Like
I know
a
her.
celebrity showed up.
Yes, exactly. I just wanted to know, in Georgia, I'm in Atlanta, and we have a really political, highly robust political season. I want to know how to use my website and my particular skill set to market myself out of state, because I know a lot of people from D.C. come to Atlanta to run campaigns. There's been a lot going on in the South, in the southern region with politics, but I need to know how to market myself using my website or something else to, I don't know what to do. Do I use my website? Do I use, what do I do to market myself more domestically and internationally?
Well, a few things. That resource that I told you about, Harrow, that usually does have a national footprint in any of those articles where you can get quoted in. So I would definitely look into that. The other thing is the advertising really does help. So what you can do, we didn't have time to get into it today, but if you do email me, I can share you some resources with you. What you are able to do is locally target the audience that you want to advertise to. So that means that even though you are based in Atlanta, it sounds like, you're able to reach an audience in LA. If you know that they're going to be coming there for a campaign season or whatever the case, you can reach audiences in different places, leveraging local advertising.
And I would add on to that too, as we get ready to wrap up the call, is a press release. If you do a press release about what you're doing in your business, press releases go all over the U.S. and into all markets as well. So doing a press release puts your information, your communication, your company, your initiative, what you're doing in the front of people from all over the U.S. And it's definitely opened doors. Anytime I do a press release, it starts to just generate outside, because I'm in Atlanta too. So it generates outside of the your normal region and your market. Thank you so much for your question.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Great.
Well, I am so excited. Aisha and Angelina, we're gonna meet one day. I don't know where, but somewhere we're going to cross paths, because this has been amazing, and I'd love to meet you ladies face to face. I am going to turn it over to Miss Janice Mathis, and she can share some additional insights and close us out. We can't hear you.
I think you're on mute.
Let me unmute myself. I'm tech savvy too.
Yeah.
I want to thank our wonderful presenters. You ladies were just amazing. I ran a business for many years, a small law firm down in Athens, Georgia, and then I've got this fabulous job at NCNW. But you know what? Even though I had heard some of those tips and cues before, every time you hear them, it reinforces what you know. It tells you what's new. It helps you ground and reaffirm your concepts and your ideas. It was just marvelous, and I thank you so much for being willing to share with us that way. I know we're going to get lots of feedback. Visit ncnw.org. You'll be able to find the presentations. We want you to think about joining NCNW. It's an 82-year-old organization founded by Mary McLeod Bethune, led by Darcy Irene Height. We care about you and what you care about, so consider joining NCNW. I want to thank Ingrid Saunders-Jones. I want to thank Google. I want to thank the Bosspreneur for being so wonderful. I also want to thank Clara and William, the people at Clarification and Mediation. We have these activities monthly. Stay tuned. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook, Instagram. We got all that going, and it works wonderfully well. I don't understand it, but I know people who do. And, you know, don't be intimidated by it. If you don't understand it, find some young person like these wonderful interns we've got here from Howard University. I also want to thank Wells Fargo, because Millennial Entrepreneurs is powered by Lisa Fryson and Bonnie Wallace from Wells Fargo. They're our friends, and we appreciate their support for the work that we're doing and for catching the vision. When I first started talking to them about Millennial Entrepreneurs last year, they were kind of like, you want to do what? But they caught it, and I appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to where we go from here. Stay tuned. There's going to be a pitch competition in November, and there's going to be money and prizes. You won't know about it if you don't visit me. If you don't visit me on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or the website, you won't know. So thank you all very much. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Yeah.
Bye-bye. No. No, how do they do it for Wakanda? Yeah. Yeah. We're tech savvy.
The universal language now.
Right. That's right.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, William. Thanks, Clara.